Hello, mixtresses and mixters. This is mixtressrae. You're watching mixtress video. So I'm not sure exactly what this video is. Figure out which side I can get the incense stick in. Oh my god, why did I put it in there before I lit it? Rookie mistake. Rookie mistake. So I don't know what this video is. When I started conceptualizing it, I thought it was going to be a favorites video. I'll tell you, there's some torrential winds outside, so you're going to probably hear a bit of that. Ugh. Okay. So it's not really a favorites video. I guess I might talk about some favorites during the course of this video, but my real favorite, it's not whiskey, but I'm going to pour some whiskey right now, is hermiting. Finding my... I haven't drank with you guys in a long time. Pouring my little baby mason jar drink to drink with you. Cheers. So my real favorite of March, I have, things that I've bought along the way. But my real favorite is making things my own. And the thing that I'm thinking about, I don't really know how to talk about it, but the thing that I'm thinking about lately is how we, as a community, as a tarot society, whatever the fuck, are overall, we're getting really caught up in the capitalism of it all, right? And this is like a subject that I go back to often. It's a thing for me. But so, if this isn't what you're here for, click off, announce that you're unsubscribing, whatever you got to do. But the thing is, I burned my finger. I think we have kind of lost touch with creating our own spiritualities. We all came together, in this space to share our tarot practice with each other, to share our spirituality practice with each other, to share our witchcraft with each other, for those of us that are witchy, and we have forgotten that sharing our practice with others is just that. It's sharing our practice with others. It's not prescribing a practice for someone else to follow. It's sharing our own practice. It's making up our own relationships to the magical objects in our lives. And just because I have a particular tool, a tarot deck, whatever, does not mean that you should have it. Just because it's something like Sylvain said in one of his recent videos, was that, we're not envious of, we think we're envious of the deck, like I'm showing you, what is this? Embroidered Graveyard and Moon Void today, and I'm telling you about my review of it, my relationship to this deck, what I'm getting out of it in my spiritual practice, blah, blah. And if you see something you want in that, what you really want is a relationship to your spiritual tools similar to the relationship that I have with mine, or whatever. That's what we're jealous of in each other. Just realized I'm missing a card because it's sitting out over here. And I just messed up my nail. because I didn't wait for them to dry before I pressed record. Okay. Anyway. What my real favorite of March is making things my own, reconnecting to my own spirituality again, and realizing that the tools, the specific tools don't matter. It's just that you make use of what is near you. And like, you know, that old tarot, that old saying that like you shouldn't buy your first tarot deck or whatever it is. And we all have said, well, of course you can buy your own tarot decks. And yeah, of course you can. But I'm kind of coming back around on that again. I'm thinking, you know, what if the reason that whole thing started, that whole like myth that you shouldn't buy your own tarot decks, or that old rule or whatever, is maybe because you're not supposed to like spend a bunch of time figuring out which tarot decks to buy and blah, blah, blah. You're not supposed to be doing that. You're supposed to just be learning it with whatever the fuck you have in your hands. And I guarantee you, whatever the fuck you have in your hands right now is better than the thing that you see on the screen that you don't have, you know? So, this is partially I'm doing a flip through. So I heavily modified both of these decks. I mean, heavily, maybe not heavily, but this one I redid the names in the deck. This is Embroidered Graveyard. This one is Moon Void Tarot. I used Posca paint markers on both of these to modify them in the month of March and make them my own, because both of these were situations where out of the box, I think both of these decks are overpriced. I think both of these decks suffer from issues in different ways. In the case of Embroidered Graveyard, you guys may or may not have seen, like my last video, I was bitching a lot about it. Mostly there's just like a lot of typos in the guidebook. As in the case of Moon Void, I don't have any specific issues with Moon Void except that it's highly specific, but it's meant to be highly specific. It's a self-portrait deck of the artist. And basically what I did is I made it more of a self-portrait deck of me. So this is obviously an unfair comparison because this is an oracle deck up against a tarot deck, and I'm going to try to set the cards on fire as well. So in this card, I'm not going to describe in every single card like what I did to alter it. You can look at a flip through if you want to see, you know, that. Don't be nervous. The flame is not as close as it looks. So in the case of this deck, I renamed the cards because I couldn't read the font. In the case of this deck, most of the time what I've done is make the hair thicker and curlier, make the glasses thicker, make the eyebrows thicker, make the lips thicker. In this case, I copied off of Julie, who knew how to do this distressing technique to make the t-shirt look distressed. Yeah. Because some people on my Patreon wanted to see what I did to this deck when I was talking about it in my podcast. So I made the glasses green in some cases. Anyway, so my favorite things of the month, like this is a deck that I used this month, and this is a deck that I got this month and altered. And I altered Moon Void this month too. Big thank you to Sue Wren, who gave me Moon Void. And even though I bought this particular copy of Embroidered Graveyard myself, my friend Ruben actually bought me a copy as well. So energetically, I got this from my friend Ruben. So thank you to Ruben and Sue Wren. I didn't change this card at all. There are lots of cards that I didn't change, but in any case, I'm not sure exactly what I want to say except that I just think, you know, the whole concept of the Hermit card, right? The concept of the Hermit is like, okay, this creature, this person has learned some spiritual truths, and they have a lantern and they're lighting your path. But here's the thing, they are lighting their own path, and they are showing you a way, but they're not showing you your way. They're showing you that they have found a way for themselves, you know, like our fucking channels, you know, anybody that has a YouTube channel that's talking to you about their lives, it shouldn't ever be prescriptive, you know? We're not telling you how to live your life. We're not telling you what you need. And when someone is telling you that, question them. Like, why do I need the shit that you say I need? You know, I just really think, I hate this phrase because I just use it too much, but at the end of the day, we're all just here sharing our opinions about things. You know, my opinion on a tarot deck is not me trying to be insulting towards the people that created it. Me talking about what I feel about my own use of a particular tarot or oracle deck is just that. It's my own interpretation of that thing. Like, for example, this card was named Home before. I renamed it 2301 because it's the house number of my childhood home. That was a way to make this deck mine. It is not going to work for anyone else. And it's okay to do that. I think there's also an aspect of like all of these things, these tarot decks and oracle decks and whatever else. I'm just gonna have to put these cards on the floor or something because they're falling off. Or hey, maybe I can put them down here. Okay, sure. These tarot decks and oracle decks are, you know, we are starting to give more reverence to the objects than to the experience that we have with the objects. You know, it's not about, I'm actually going to put this one back up because this is my card of the week. You know, if I were, whiskey, yeah. If I were paying more respect to this deck in particular as an object than to my relationship with it, then I wouldn't have altered it. And then I wouldn't want to work with it because the font was unreadable to me and I didn't like the names of some of the cards. But instead of, you know, I don't know, being mad about it and just setting it aside to sell it or get rid of it or whatever, which also valid lifestyle choice, and I've done that. I'm particularly proud of this one because I really made it look like me and my Michael. I could have done that, but instead I decided to alter it and make it mine. This is my first tattoo ever. I think I did a pretty good job of making it actually look like my tattoo on the back of my neck. Same thing with the Moon Void. This deck, for me, the artwork was like a little too simple, and I was just seeing the creator every time I looked at it. But now that I've made little modifications, I have made it my own. And some people would think that that's disrespectful to the creator. But do I want this to be an object that works for me? See, here's the thing. We as a, tarot society, tarot community are, the thing that we are into together is tarot. And that thing is possibly a spiritual thing. Like, not everyone views it that way. Not everyone uses tarot as a spiritual thing. But for those of us that do, what I did to this card is it was a tuxedo cat, but I made it into just a black cat so it looks more like my collie. And she does have a little patch of white fur. What we are into together collectively is a spiritual thing, right? And a spiritual thing is a personal thing, is a private thing. Your spiritual practice, especially when we're talking about like witchcraft, like 95% of us are essentially solitary witches of one kind or another, right? So we're sitting, like right now, I'm sitting alone in my closet with tarot decks every night. This is what I do. I sit alone in a closet with tarot decks and a journal, you know? And my practice is my own. And oh, these are like the extra cards in the deck. They were just kind of in the middle, whatever. Okay. Oh, and I added, anytime you see fishnets, I added it. I just feel like I'm not actually saying anything. But I've been, you know, doing that thing again where I feel like I have way too many tarot decks. And I made a list today of all my tarot decks and what purpose I think each one of them serves. That way, if, you know, if there's a repetitive purpose, maybe I can think about getting rid of one of the decks if two decks fit a particular purpose that is the same, you know what I mean? Can we just stop with the holographic gilding? I don't know if you can tell, but it is real crunchy. And I've had this deck like, I don't know, 2 weeks. It's ridiculous. And it's thick as fuck. It's really hard to shuffle. It's not the worst ever, but kind of sucks. Anyway. And there seems to be a lot of like, you know, people lashing out. Like if I put out a video talking about how, you know, I think that I'm getting a little out of hand with my tarot deck consumption or something, then I'll have people commenting on it, you know, defending their tarot deck consumption, and it's fine. You know, like, you know, do whatever you want. I mean, if you're getting really angry at a YouTuber that's talking about how they think they might be buying too many tarot decks, it seems like you're over-identifying, you know? Maybe you should take a look at that. That's a possibility. Also, I didn't ask your business. Like, yeah, I'm telling you guys my business right now, but you can click off of this video anytime. If what you are hearing makes you uncomfortable, you don't have to watch this, you know? Like, people, this is my soulmate, Maxine. She's no longer with us. This is another soulmate, Dexter the Chocolate Lab, no longer with us. I have been on YouTube now. Like, I just had my 8-year channelversary. I have been on YouTube for 8 years. And I have, you know, been on the internet for a lot longer than that, as many of us have been. You know, and many of us have this, you know, like, many of us have had YouTube channels, have had blogs, have had, you know, all different ways of expressing themselves on the internet. I've had a radio show. I've had podcasts. I have an Etsy tarot reading business. I talk on the internet all day, every day. Not really, but close. And I have run into a lot of people telling me how to do this. But you know what? All I'm doing is sharing little pieces of my life with people, sharing my opinions on things. And I have watched the internet become a place where people are scared to share their opinions on things. I have watched the internet become a place where, like, you can't say a bad word about any kind of product because you don't want to upset the creators. And I don't want to upset artistic creators either. But you know what I was thinking about today? The fact that we call them creators sounds a little worshipy, doesn't it? Is there a better word that we can use? I don't know if I want to use the word creator anymore, you know? I mean, I know, like, that's just like being a little too nitpicky, looking a little too far into it. But yeah, it's just a thought that I had. I'm going to change my angle so you can see my little chickie. My little Easter chickie hanging out over here. So I've, like, okay, God, I don't think I really have any thoughts that are making any sense. But I was thinking about altars lately and how, you know, like in like old school Wicca books and shit, you know, it'll say in your altar you need a white candle for the god and a black candle for the goddess, and or silver and gold or whatever. You will also need something to symbolize this and something to symbolize this, and you will need an athame, and you will need this, and you will need this. And you know what? An altar can just be, like Sylvain's been talking about, an empty room, and you make magic in it. You don't actually need a single damn thing. Your altar can be inside your mind. You don't actually need anything. It can be a rock that you found on the side of the road and a pack of playing cards. And yeah, I don't want that life. I want a life where I have, you know, right now in my possession, I have about 30 tarot decks. I like that. I like having all these different divination decks. But, you know, I also was thinking about, like, when do we start calling rocks crystals? I remember being really confused at first whenever I heard people talking about crystals. Like, what makes it a crystal? It's just a fancier word for rock. That's all it is. And so I thought about doing a video showing you mixtressrae's rock collection. Wherein I have all of my crystals in a pile, and I decide which ones I like and don't like, which ones I want to, a rock decluttering. But I decided that that would take too much work to, like, you know, pull aside all of my rocks that are all over my house. Perfect time to be talking about that, right? Hello. The last card in the deck is called Hello. I did put these fucking oracle cards in order. Okay, I really don't know what I'm saying right now, except that the voice of the commenter, the voice of the commenter has been in my head. And it's been getting louder and louder. Like, okay, what's the response gonna be if I talk about this, or if I say this, or if I say this? And, you know, becoming aware of your audience is a phenomenon that I think is really perverting what people are saying across any internet space, whether that be YouTube or anywhere else. The conversation has changed because of who we think is listening and what we think they're going to say. And I think that this has caused a lot of anxiety in people, including myself. And I have fantasized about turning my comments off. And it's not like I'm not over here saying that I get like a lot of bad comments or anything, because I really don't. Now that I'm in the tarot world with my YouTube channel, I really don't get a bunch of shitty comments anymore. Like, the shitty comments happened a lot more whenever I was an ASMR channel, to be honest, because it was a lot more, you know, white dudes that wanted me to do role playing or whatever. I don't know what they fucking wanted, but I partially got out of that world because I was sick of that bullshit. And every community has that kind of bullshit, you know? Every single one does. And our particular bullshit here in the little baby tarot sphere is that we get our hackles up, as I say, which is apparently not a phrase everywhere, but like we get angry, we get defensive, we get our hackles up when people talk about tarot deck collections and if they think that they're collecting too much, if people say a bad word, give a bad review about a tarot deck. And, you know, I am not a professional reviewer. I don't get paid for my reviews unless you count ad revenue, which, I mean, I don't even know. Like, how much do I make on one video? Considering I get a YouTube payout of $100 like every 6 months, I don't know. It's a tiny amount of money, but I guess I do get paid to tell you guys this shit. But I'm not getting paid by the artists. I'm not getting sent tarot decks for free by artists. It happened one time, and that was with Amrit Brar, who created Marigold Tarot, and it's because I specifically asked her, and she was kind enough to say yes. And in that particular case, I didn't have anything bad to say because I fucking love Marigold Tarot. But I don't know. I don't know what I want to say right now, except to state my intentions with you guys. I am here on YouTube because I want to talk to people about my experiences in life. I want to talk to you about my relationship to tarot cards and divination. I want to talk to you about how I feel about products that are being put out there that I'm interested in, that I am buying. Like, I'm still buying tarot decks, you know, even though I'm trying to keep my collection small, even though for me personally, I have to keep my collection small because I experience a lot of overwhelm because I use all of my decks. I use them all. And if I don't use them, I feel guilty about not using them. And me saying that doesn't mean that you should feel guilty if you don't use all of your tarot decks. You have your own relationship to the things that you have. It has nothing to do with me. And yelling at me in the comments because I have a differing opinion from you, you don't have to announce if you're going to unsubscribe. Just fucking do it. I'm not asking anyone to... You know, I'm putting my thoughts out on the internet because I'm reaching out for conversation, for to find like-minded people, just to provide that light, you know, going back to the Hermit card, to provide that. Let me provide you with a little visual representation of the beautiful Hermit card. To provide that guiding light, not to show you how to walk down the path that I'm on, but to show you how I found a way to forge my own path and how I'm continuing to do so. You know? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to say what I want to say or even what I want to say. But if suddenly someday all the comments on my videos are disabled, it's not because I don't want to have conversations. It's because I don't want the thoughts of... Because I want to be speaking into a void. You know, I want my thoughts to be unfiltered by what I think the reaction will be. I want them to be authentic. I want them to be real and true to my actual thoughts. I don't want them to be filtered through what I think people on the internet are going to say and how people on the internet are going to react to what I'm saying. You know, I don't want to color my reviews of something based on me being afraid that the creator of the tarot deck is going to lash out at me, you know, because I've heard stories of like, you know, people get very angry and irrational on the internet. Have you guys ever heard of that? And like, it's like we've all forgotten how to just have our own fucking paths, our own fucking thoughts, and forge our own way in life. We have forgotten how to do it. We are looking to other people all the time, and we're expecting everyone to be, you know, pillars of morality and goodness and authenticity, even though in order for people to live up to the expectations that we as a society have created upon them, they can't be authentic, because it's not possible for someone to be 100% right and good and perfectly evolved. Because in order to be perfectly evolved, you have to have started somewhere less evolved, you know? It sounds like there's some particular thing that I'm mad at right now, but there really isn't. It's just that and I don't want to say this in the way that it's going to sound when I say it the way I'm about to say it, but I feel like I've been silenced. And I don't mean that in the way that like people have beat me down or whatever. It's just over the years, you know, having a radio show and a podcast and blogs, you know, just going even all the way back to the live journal days. In the very beginning, you know, I had a blog and I was just stating my completely bald, uncensored thoughts on the internet at age 17 or whatever on LiveJournal. And I had a lot to learn. There were things I needed to learn about the world. There were evolutions that needed to be made, for sure. But one of the things that I learned through then up until now, 22 years later, you know, one of the things that I've learned is to hold back, to be more silent, to say less, to put a completely well-rounded positive spin on every absolute thing that I say. And I'm a delusional optimist, and I own that, and it's a way of life for me, and I'm into that. But there's a difference between being delusionally optimistic in order to get through your daily life, which is my personal philosophy, and being 100% nice about everything when it's like we're here to talk to each other about what we think about things. And it's so hard to find someone's real thoughts anymore when you have to wade through all the disclaimers. When every single video where someone might be sharing an actual, real, authentic thought, they have to sandwich it in a ton of disclaimers, like, you might have a different experience with this thing, but I fucking hate it. But they never actually say, I fucking hate it. No one says that anymore. Why don't they say that anymore? Why can't you just be real about a thing? And sometimes you're lashing out because you're mad at yourself. Like, I have definitely done it where I have like bitched about a tarot or oracle deck because and at the root of all of that was just pain because I charged my credit card for something that I couldn't afford, and I was mad at myself. Yeah, that's a thing. But that doesn't make it not real. It doesn't make it not part of the process. And like when I refer to myself as having an addiction to buying a lot of tarot decks, that's a real thing for me. I have that problem. And just because someone else sees a bit of themselves reflected in that and it makes them angry, or I don't know. I just want, I don't want, I don't know. It's like I don't want to be here anymore. And that's not really true, but it is true sometimes, like I don't want to become one of those people that started out being like really brash and ballsy and speaking my mind. And then eventually I just felt like I couldn't do it anymore because I couldn't fight against all of the comments and negativity and people telling me how to do things. It's just, and it's not even that many people that do it either. I'm a delicate creature. Some months ago, I got a comment on my channel that someone was saying that, I would sound a lot more intelligent if I didn't cuss so much or something like that. And people have coached me on like what nail polish to wear and like how to, like what words I should be using and how to use my voice. And people want me to list the tarot decks and timestamps. Like if I'm showing like a top 10 or something, they want me to list the tarot decks. They want me to put links to the tarot decks in my description. And like the fact that people even feel like they can say that shit, you do realize I'm just a human being in a closet with my iPhone just talking to you about my life and my fucking possessions, right? I don't have a fucking marketing degree. I'm not here to sell you shit. If you, like, I understand a person wants to buy a tarot deck, they want to watch a flip through, they could end up anywhere. They could end up on anyone's channel. But if that person isn't giving you the product review that you like, click off of it. Go somewhere else. Don't stick around long enough to tell them how to do what they're doing. Like, YouTube is about you, right? And we're all becoming this like morphed together conglomeration of an automaton just selling shit. And it's fine if that's what you want to do. You're probably going to get a lot of views, you're going to get a lot of ad revenue, you're going to get exactly what you want from that if that's what you want. And you're probably business savvy and cool, I guess. But that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to sit in a closet and say fuck a lot to you guys when I'm talking about tarot decks. I'm going to tell you what I feel about the tarot decks that I have. And my opinions are not going to be like perfectly beautiful. I can say, even though I like this tarot deck, this is one of 30 tarot decks I have right now. I obviously like it, but I can also say that this is overpriced. And if it hadn't been a gift, I wouldn't have it right now. Those two things can be true at the same time, And same with this. This was an outrageously overpriced Oracle deck, and it had a lot of problems with the production, in my opinion. And also, those problems of the production would have been possibly not even problems for me if this deck had cost half as much as it did. And if the wording had been different in the fucking guidebook. Anyway, I don't really know what I want to say except that I'm in another culling space. I'm down to a very small number of decks. It's like a spring cleaning up in my life. I'm getting rid of a lot of shit. And I'm really having to confront my own relationship to consumerism and capitalism. And it's a place that I come back to over and over and over again. And it's a place that people don't like to hear about, which is fine. You can just not listen. Like, why is that not a thing anymore? That, why do people have, I don't know. I'm here telling you my thoughts, and I'm complaining that other people have to tell me theirs. But whatever. Thank you for listening. I was just here to tell you that my favorite thing is making things my own, making a spiritual practice that is for me, that is my path. And that's not me trying to be possessive and say that you can't have it. It's just saying that my path isn't going to work for you. You have to forge your own. And just because I might be shit talking a tarot deck that is your absolute favorite of all time, that's not me shitting on you. That's me shitting on something that someone else created that isn't you, you know? Like, don't conflate that. Okay.